I feel like humans are like that. We wait until we hit rock bottom or we have our backs against the wall in order to make change, And a lot of entrepreneurs that read the book do that because they've experimented with the dark place. They've experimented with a place that they don't want to be anymore. And, and the same thing is that the title of the book appeals to, I think, the number one thing that all entrepreneurs want when they start a business, which is freedom. All entrepreneurs want freedom. And it's ironic that that's the thing that we pay the less attention to.
It started because of freedom. I was in a cubicle from dark when I got to work, dark when I left work. And I was like, I wanted freedom to make my own day. But then what happened? You wind up working 50, 60 hours a week for yourself. And that freedom is just you're self-employed, overworking more than you would have worked at a job in the first place. Yeah. And then you have to take a step back and say, how did this happen? And then it's interesting too, that you bring up, I almost think of it as like an addictive personality where we're prone to be excessive in certain things. And that can go into much worse areas, right, than working. But working too much can cause a lot of problems. It can cause depression. It can hurt your relationships. It can hurt your marriage. It can hurt your children. Working too much
it's all about proper management. It's all about proper management. It's all about managing your time, your energy, and your attention properly. Entrepreneurship is hard, but if you look at it like working out, for example, right? Like a workout's not easy. There's no such thing as an easy workout. Like you're going to be, it's hard working out. The thing is that you do things over time that compound and it becomes, a little bit more comfortable, let's say, to do specific movements, or you can lift a little bit more. But, it's part of the game, but we love it. Even though it's hard, we love it. And I think it's the same thing with entrepreneurship. We do it because ultimately we love it so much. So we're willing to endure pain because, we want something out of it. I think the key is, it's like the guy who starts bodybuilding because he sees, a poster of Arnold Schwarzenegger and he feels like he's going to become Mr. Olympia, but then realizes that the sacrifices you need to become Mr. Olympia are not actually worth it. Plus the fact that you don't have the genetics to become the Mr. Olympia. So you actually find your own style and end up loving working out for what it is, and it's like, we all kind of started like that, right? I bet when you first started benching, you wanted to be a strong dude. You probably had some, who was your inspiration, Mike, when you started?
Well, I didn't know about powerlifting when I first started, but my inspiration, that was one of the things we got tested in for football. And when you're younger in high school, it's like the one lift everybody asks you, how much can you bench? So I just wanted to be the strongest guy in the school or the strongest guy in the team in that lift. So I didn't have a guy, because usually the guys that could bench a lot, they were these big kind of fat guys. So you didn't really want to look like them, but you wanted to be strong like them. But yeah, you're right. I looked in the magazines too, and there were bodybuilders when I started working out. And I was like, you didn't even know. Like you said, genetics, you can't get like that. And you're not going to want to do what it takes to get like that. But when you're 15, 16 years old, you're like, oh, cool. Look how much progress I made in these 6 months. Yeah. In 2 more years, I'm going to look better than that. And then you're in your 20s and realize it's a lot harder than you think. But by then you already love it anyway. It just became something else.
Yeah. But then your mentality switches to more of a sustainability. You look at it from, you want it to see sustainable. In your 40s, you work out to be in good shape and live longer. Right. Longevity becomes priorities one of, and you look at Ronnie Coleman now and you're like, what an idiot. You know what I mean? That sucks for Ronnie, what's happening to him. But you look at the guy that was God in bodybuilding, for example, lifting crazy weights and working like crazy. And now he can barely move, and you're like, oh, shoot. Yeah. I don't want to be like that. Same thing in business, man. I mean, I feel like your priorities change over time, right? And it's understanding fast enough that sustainability is the key and not just lifting as much as you can.
Right. So sustainability is almost like that work-life balance, having your priorities in order, where a lot of entrepreneurs, it was freedom. For me personally, it goes God, family, work in that order. And if work takes over to the point where you lose your health, lose your relationships, lose your faith, you've got some problems there. So really that's done by noon tackles some of those issues.
Yeah. And it's not about, here's the thing. It's not about being done by noon. The key is just not to be done by noon and do nothing about it. It's like, asking an entrepreneur about retirement. You're going to say like, no, I just love what I'm doing. I don't see myself just sitting down on my butt and do nothing all day, And it's the same thing with that. And when you talk, you look at the 4-hour work week, for example, like it's not about the 4-hour work week is not about working 4 hours a week. It's actually a great book about leverage. It talks about leverage. That's it. That's what it talks about. And Done by Noon is a book about mindset and understanding what your priorities should be in your business and how you should address your workload and your schedule accordingly, right? And the truth is, more than often, where the title comes from the question, if I would tell you that you had to be done by noon, every day, how would you schedule your work, right? And knowing that you cannot wake up at 2 a.m. to do so. So obviously priorities will need to be made. You will need to arrange separate, different things. You will need to delegate, outsource, automate some of the things. And it's going to need to, you're going to take care of all the tasks that you have on your plate. There's one thing that, I talk about the Eisenhower matrix in the book, and I don't really like it because there's one thing that's like, delete, like some kind of, this task exists, but all of a sudden it doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, but it's not as simple as that. A business is made of different types of tasks. It's just really how you're going to be addressing them. The problem is that you cannot address them, all of them yourself. There's things that there's a way to do it, and there's certain types of tasks you need to prioritize, sure, in order to do that.
And I mean, for most people, the morning is when they have more energy, because we're talking about this energy balance. And I'm a testimonial for this book, because when my daughter was born, I needed to help out a lot at home because she had some stomach issues and my wife was having some postpartum. So I had to literally do what you're talking about. I had to figure out, what are my needle movers? What are the top priorities? What do I absolutely have to get done before I need to get home? And I did wind up having to stop some tasks out of necessity, but the business did wind up growing that year. And that was a big awakening for me, that I needed to really manage my time and energy. I think it goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
And you can actually get more done in less time when you have your priorities straight and you've got your energy in line. What kind of tips do you have for entrepreneurs that feel a lack of energy or have energy crashes or kind of has sporadic energy bursts?
You know what? It always comes back to poor self-care. And that's one of the symptoms that you see when entrepreneurs get busy. Like, their health is the first thing that gets out the window. I mean, I could show you you saw me at my best and you saw me at my worst too, physically.
Sure.
I think when we met, I was still competing, and I was like, I was a muscular dude with a 6-pack. And then, when I burnt out, I was not a muscular dude with a belly, right? And the thing is that it's ironic that we talk about productivity and performance, but entrepreneurs just end up not taking care of themselves in the process.